Guillaume, first of all, thanks for being here. It's obviously a really important subject. I mean, we have a growing population that is in need of a lot more, not only food, but nutritious food. And I think that's what we're really all focused on nowadays. It's one thing to grow more, but we need to actually create food that is more nutritious for the population with an eye also towards the climate. So Guillaume, 9% of the world's population suffers from chronic hunger, and around 45% of deaths among children under the age of 5 are linked to malnutrition. What have we learned from the Green Revolution, and was science that reinvented the last food crisis, prevented the last food crisis? Can science save it again?
Thank you very much, Tom, and hi, everyone. Can science save us again? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, absolutely. When humanity was faced with its greatest challenges, science and innovation already have saved us. You mentioned the Green Revolution. Back in the days, at the end of the last century, new varieties of rice and wheat have averted famine in Asia. And CGIAR and the science of CGIAR is credited with saving over 1 billion lives. So I'm very proud of that legacy. But who in the room has heard of CGIAR? Just by a show of hand, Well, okay, we have some work to do then.
You have a PR problem.
Yeah. I mean, look, the challenges are changing, right? I mean, it was all about producing more food, period. Now it's about connecting food security and nutritious food, connecting that with biodiversity, restoring biodiversity, and climate, and addressing the climate challenge, right? So what we're trying to do is bring that science, and my belief is that with science we can.
Sophie, number one, congratulations on being the recipient of a Global Citizen Prize last night. It must feel great. Congratulations. So you co-founded Act for Food. It's a global youth-led campaign that mobilizes communities to transform food systems. How can young people bridge the gap between community action and research to tackle global nutrition food insecurity?
Yeah, great question. First of all, we need to use the research. I would love to say to young people that your story is enough and that your personal experiences are enough. But when decision makers are speaking to us, they ask for the facts, the figures, the research that backs your personal experience. I hope at some stage we get to a stage where the narrative of a young person's lives is enough to create change. But right now, we're not there yet. So I would love to say to young people to use the research to back your personal experiences, but the research also isn't accessible yet to young people. When I look at any big piece of research that's come out of, for example, the Sophie report, not my report, SOFI, it's a big, thick report that's really difficult to understand for the people that need it the most. So we need to work better with researchers to translate these big pieces of very important information into easily accessible language, and also using gamification to reach young people who may be in informal education settings so that they can also use the research.
Oh, interesting. So advocating for access to safe and affordable, nutritious diet is crucial for your aspect of your activism. 1 in 3 people worldwide suffer from some type of malnutrition, and every country has a problem with at least one type of malnutrition. What are the urgent actions necessary to halt the worsening trend of malnutrition?
We need access to safe and nutritious food that's affordable for everyone, no matter where you are, no matter the culture, the country you come from. Food is the one thing that brings us all together, but it's also the one thing that really pushes us apart. Right now, we see food is used as a weapon of war. We see food used as a marketing influence by big companies. We see social media influencing a young person's diet to high calorific, high sugar foods, and this needs to change. So I like to think of 2 things. School meals, a hugely beneficial place to start a young person's journey in healthy and nutritious food. And also access to safe and nutritious food for young mothers. A lot of young women are young mothers. They often produce the food, they cook the food, they feed their family the food, but then they eat last.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned two things that were very instrumental in halting hunger here in America back in the 70s, and that is the WIC program, Women, Infant, and Children program, where food is available for women who are pregnant and their children afterwards, and also the school lunch program. So we know it works because it worked here, and so obviously it can work on a world scale. And there's something else that you said that I always like to throw out there is that in this country, well, in the world, calories are cheap, nutrition's expensive. You can get a lot of food that is dense in calories, but there's not a whole lot of nutrition. Guillaume, in the last 50 years, CGIAR has made major scientific breakthroughs like biofortified orange sweet potatoes that improved vitamin A status in children and new rice in Africa. That brought food security to about 7.2 million people and lifted about 8 million people out of poverty in 16 African countries. What other breakthroughs are on the horizon?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So you may not know who CGIAR is, but I'm sure you know who Bill Gates is. Yeah, no raise of hands, no show of hands for that. So, he said, Bill Gates, that apart from vaccines, there is probably no other innovation that has saved more lives than CGIAR science. So in 50 years, it's incredible. There's 10,000 researchers working in the field, from the field, for the field, located in 13 centers, managed by and in the Global South. And that makes a tremendous amount of difference. So for instance, you mentioned the orange flesh potato. There's today 50 million people in 41 countries that benefit from biofortified crops. That means crops that are nutritious. There's ultra-low glycemic index rice. What is this? It means that with rice, you can fight diabetes. Isn't that incredible? Right? Thank you. And there's a whole, discussion about AI. Is it for good or bad? I can tell you in this field, AI is for good. With AI, you can tell, for instance, if a banana is healthy or not. And that's the difference for a farmer between a good year and essentially famine and hunger. And that has changed completely how we manage bananas. I want to give you maybe one last example because I think it's really important. As we move with food security, I mentioned earlier, it's about addressing, of course, hunger, but it's also about addressing climate. What we can do today is bring agriculture that turns agriculture and farms and fields into net carbon sinks, which means that as you feed the planet, you solve the biggest issue that the planet has been confronted with.
Right, you're sequestering carbon in the soil.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
Sophie, how can research networks and private sector better collaborate with youth activists to achieve their shared goals?
I would like to see more young people from farming backgrounds, agripreneurs, nutritionists, actually on board of directors of civil society in the private sector, so that young people are there in the decision-making processes. I'd also like to see more young people in the policy creation processes, so that we're not just the beneficiaries of policies and programs that are created by governments, but we are the co-creators of our future. And I also would like to see researchers invite young people outside of the research space into the research space, so that we can ensure that, as I mentioned, those lovely pieces of research are accessible to all.
Okay, so Guillaume, for every $1 invested in agricultural research, it generates $6 billion in benefits. However, financing remains critically low, with small farmers receiving less than 2% of climate financing. What do you need governments and private sectors to do to fill CGIAR's funding gap? And who are you calling upon to step up? This is the call of action right now.
Thank you very much, Tom. And indeed, I'd like to correct you, actually, because every time you invest $1, you don't get $6 out of it, you get $10.
Okay.
So it's even a better investment. And nobody knows about it. I mean, it's so frustrating. 7% of international aid is going to research and development. 7% is ridiculously small. We need to step up. What we're trying to do at CGIAR now is double our investment in agricultural research and development to be able to end hunger and malnutrition. What it means is we need $2 billion. It's very concrete. And with $2 billion, you know that you're going to generate 20 billion, because it's 1 in 10. And that will change the lives of billions of people. So I think this is the difference between the world we fear and the world we want. So I said earlier, with science we can, with science we will, but for that we need the help of everyone in this room. So I'm really counting on all of you.
We have, if you care to make any sort of last comments, we have about a minute and a half left. So if you want to just make another appeal or add another comment to the conversation, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just personally, I just can't believe that we live in a world where a healthy diet is a luxury. I think it's astounding to me that healthy, nutritious food is double the price of high calorific, high sugar content food.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody likes to say that the food system's broken. It's not. It's intentionally does exactly what it does. If you have money, you can connect with it. If you don't, you struggle. So it is not broken. It's just a bad system.
No, and because of the bad system. Because of the bad system, we have young people creating food banks on campuses for young people.
Yes.
And we're sold this narrative of as young people that we shouldn't be able to afford healthy, nutritious food. That's for when you make money in your big job,
right.
You know?
Exactly. Guillaume, last comment?
Look, I mean, every time I come to a Global Citizen event, I get rejuvenated. I mean, there's the youth, which is our future, and there's the ex-youth, which, no. We're still trying. We're still trying.
We're young at heart.
Thank you, Tom. I mean, I'm never disappointed. But once again, last year I saw and I felt, suddenly we're bringing all those conversations together. There is the willingness to change. This year, once again, I feel that with all of us in this room, we can make that change happen. So let's do it.
All right. Thank you, Guillaume, Sophie. Thank you so much.